Do you ever pay attention to the meaning and the story you give to describing what you do? If you own a company, you're a business leader, how do you describe what you do and how do you think and how do you Stevie Kidd in the Pathway Mastery re-engineer how you think? Now, between London, Ireland, Edinburgh, Glasgow, when I first started working with these clients, I started paying attention just as I did at the age of 16, how I used words and how I described what I did. And it was the meaning of being why was I in business back then, why am I in business now, and why will I be in business in a year's time. And when you get developed by entrepreneurs for the age of 12 to 16, you realise that how they use words and language is completely different. There was one wee guy called Andy, and all he wanted to do was pounds, pence and shillings. And he was always futuristic, talking in weekly, monthly, quarterly and annual revenues. Not just professionally, but he was also talking about what he was going to manifest and create in his life. He was also talking about what he was going to do with his wealth that he was going to generate. And then I looked round at everybody else that was in business and I realised that there was an operator, business owner, entrepreneur or serial entrepreneur. Andy worked into the category of being a serial entrepreneur and he still is to this day. So that was my schooling. But what I realised, the people that lived in operator and business owners, they used to be stressed all the time. They would be in a different emotional state. Even how people were walking and carrying themselves, the people who were entrepreneurs and serial entrepreneurs, they had a spring in their step. They were always laughing, they were always smiling. They weren't doing much, they were getting other people to do things. So I quickly realised, and I was very blessed at the age of 12 to 17, that I was around these people and I could study the different types of business owners or entrepreneurs because I worked for them all. So the way I went straight to language. It wasn't just about physiology or frequency. I started to look at certain people who were talking about strategy, forecasting and budgeting and personal wealth, where the other person was just talking about I'm busy. And they were always on the go, they were always tense, they were always stressed. So that's where I learned how to do business, and as I've been coached, what I do is I use it in the Advanced Business Mastery Framework, chokehold against breakthrough. And where we're in London, Ireland, Edinburgh, Glasgow, back to Dubai, what I do is I monitor and see how the entrepreneurs that I work with now are not business owners, they're entrepreneurs, and they think of entrepreneurs because they've made breakthroughs. They've been through the business cycle to become aware. What happens at an operator level, what happens at a business owner level, what happens at entrepreneur, and what happens at serial entrepreneur, and what happens to the words that you use and the language that you use and the physiology and the vibration and the frequency, and how do you think. So when you think about KPIs and forecasting and communication strategies, these are all natural because you know this is identity that links to behaviour. So what's the behaviour that links to being an operator? You've not got time to do all that because you're transactional based, and that's where we move clients forward. We move them forward to strategy, but we move them forward to really personal wealth and generating wealth with a reputable brand for you as a person and for you as a company. I hope that makes sense. Maybe go back and watch it again and think, what was the messages, what was his lessons that he learned when he was a kid? What was the behaviours of people who were operators and business owners against the people who were entrepreneurs and serial entrepreneurs that he was around? What was he actually paying attention to?